Hey everyone, I am Life Her Vet of Life Her Podcast. I would like to welcome you, Siedah. We are going to be talking about some amazing things: legacy, estate planning, retirement crisis, just different things of that nature to get you prepared for your living trust and I mean, just it all because these things are so important and we aren't educated enough for it. And we also have to learn how to do it the legal way and not illegal. So Saida gonna get y'all all the way together. Hey, Saida.
Absolutely. Yvette, thank you so much for having me today. I love that. We're gonna do it the legal way.
Yes. Girl, you know how it be.
Oh, trust me. I know. And why we I mean the culture, why we do certain things, I'll be like,
Yeah. I know.
But
And it mixes up people and I've watched many of your videos and stuff and I really appreciate you for not being one of those individuals and like really helping people because they really need to know, like seriously.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into some good stuff tonight. And I don't know why we do it, but everybody know like that you got that one relative that passed away, but yeah, they name still on the house, they name still on the bills. I don't know why don't black people tell when people die in our family? Why is it a secret?
A lot of things is a secret though.
Yes. So we're gonna get into it tonight.
Yes, definitely. But first, before we really get into that, I want to start by us actually getting to know you. So I see that you grew up in poverty and you just found your own way to get out of that. Because, a lot of times people have a difficult time breaking generational things for them to basically want another route of life. So, how did you start off having yourself educate yourself and getting out of that situation and have better for yourself?
Yeah. So for me, education was really the way out. I never thought that I was going to be an entrepreneur, never wanted to be a business owner. I was always go to school, get a good job, work really hard. That's going to be the way out. And so to escape a lot that was happening in my environment, I put my everything into school. So my entire life, I'm that student for sure. Straight A student, raising my hand in front of the class, teacher's pet, you name it. But for me, that was okay. I need to do this. They said, do this. This is your ticket out. That's what I'm going to do. So for me, I was all about education.
That is good. So when did you find a love for you actually educating people to basically want better for themselves, learning about financial goals and actually knowing what to do with their estate, even living and when they pass away?
Yeah. So it's a couple of key moments. For me, the first moment was when I got my big girl job, my quote unquote big girl job. And I never forget sitting in that room and HR comes in and they say, here's your 401k and here's your health benefits. And so when we got to the 401k part, I'm like, okay, mama, I made it. This is what they say. Go to school, get a good job, get good benefits.
401k.
Here come the good benefits. But then right in that same meeting, they ask you, you have to select what funds you want your money to be invested in. And I'm like, ain't nobody talk about that part. Nobody shared that step. And so I didn't know. So I remember looking over at Jay, and Jay, he was an actual rocket scientist. Like that is what he studied. That was his profession. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna put what Jay put because 401ks can't be rocket science. I'm gonna put I put down what Jay put. Jay was wrong. Apparently 401ks are harder than rocket science. But it was at that moment that I'm like, I need to learn because I'm just getting started. I'm only at that time 21 years old. There's only going to be more of this for me. So I need to start learning. So that was my first real wake up call of what got me here won't get me there. And so I need to be accountable and start learning more about this next level, or I'm going to be in a lot of uncomfortable situations.
Yes. So what did you find wrong within marking something that you felt like it wasn't right fit for you?
Within the 401k?
Yes.
So when you get your 401k, when you're putting money into it, a lot of people assume that that money is automatically being invested, and it's not. So you can be contributing money into your 401k and that money actually not be invested. The second thing that happens is when you put your money in, it goes into the default account.
Mm.
And so most people just select the default account, which is also known as a target date fund. So based on the age of expected retirement for most people now is age 67, they kind of default you into some stocks and bonds that they get rebalanced. And by rebalance, meaning they go from risky to less risky as you get closer to retirement age. But when you look at the overall offerings of options that are available to you in your 401k, those are normally the worst performing ones. So it was having money sitting there that wasn't actually invested. I'm just contributing, thinking that it's investing, and it's not. And then two, putting my money into the default account. And probably the third thing was trying to keep as much money as possible.
Yes.
Meaning they're like, oh, you can contribute up to, we match 6% or we match up to 5%. And I'm like, I'm gonna get, what's the least I can do?
Mm-hmm.
I come from a situation where I didn't have money before. And so
Right.
I'm taking a whole lot of money out of my check. So what's the least I can do? Oh, 3%? Let me do that. So those are some of the basic mistakes that I made. And a lot of the same basic mistakes I see a lot of my clients make when it comes to doing their retirement planning, 401ks, deferred comp plans.
Right. So what do you recommend for employees to do?
So what you want to do when you get your deferred comp or your employer compensation plan is you want to ask for what's called a prospectus. So your prospectus, that is the brochure that comes along with that retirement plan that tells you all of the funds that you have access to. So when you get that, you can see which funds or which stocks your company allows you to invest in. So you can get that, look at that, and you can say, okay, I want to put a little bit of my money here. I want to put a little bit of my money there. Don't just go for the default. The second thing I do is I would recommend that you contribute in your retirement accounts at least at minimum up to the default of what your employer is matching you if they match you. So those are the two things I would recommend you do.
Okay. So as time progresses, as you get older, and I know me myself, um, I started doing a IUL, and I found that a lot more useful than a 401k and actually doing like a Roth IRA. Um, and I thought that was like something a lot more better. Could you break down the different things as far as 401k, Roth IRA, and also IUL?
Okay. So when you hear the term 401k, IRA, 403b, 457, IRA, IUL, those are really nothing more than just tax codes. And the IUL tax code that allows for what some people use as a LIRP, a life insurance retirement plan, is called IRS tax code 7702A. So those just mean that your money has different rules associated with it and it gets taxed a different way. So 401k means you work for a corporation. 403b means you work for a nonprofit. 457, you normally have some sort of union, police officer, firefighters that do that. IRA, individual retirement account, 7702A falls under the umbrella of life insurance. So if you open up a tax book, those are just the sections in that textbook that govern how that money works in those rules. So 401ks, 403bs, 457 IRAs, they have very similar rules. The biggest rule and difference is that there's age rules associated with it. So you have the 59.5 rule, meaning that you cannot touch that money before age 59.5, or they're going to penalize you for it. Then you have what's called the RMD rule. That's your required minimum distribution rule, meaning that if you wanted to build generational wealth, if you wanted to leave that money to your children, the government says you can't do that. You have to take that money out before a certain age. And probably at the time that we're recording this video, that age is 73, but they continue to change that age normally every year. So those are the age rules and restrictions. Now, when you look at IRS tax code 7702A, which the IUL falls under, there is no age restrictions for that. You can use that money when you want to, and you can leave it in there to build generational wealth if you decide to. So that's one of the first biggest difference between deferred comp plans and using like a plan like an IUL to do something like that. The second thing is understanding how the money grows. All of your employer compensation plans, you can make 100%, but you can also lose 100%.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have some money and hedge against loss when the market is down, then you could use an IUL where that index part of the IUL means that you have what's called a floor. So when the markets are down, you don't lose money. But when the markets go up, you can make money. However, you're never going to make the top of the market. So if the stock market is going to do an all-time high of, 40%, 60%, you may not make that inside of your IUL. However, if the market does an all-time low, how it did in 2008, it was down negative 37%, you're also not going to lose that money. So it's a great way to hedge against market loss and market correction. And probably the final difference is taxes. So all the deferred compensation plans, you're deferring the taxes. That's what the deferred part means. I don't want to pay taxes now on this money. I want to pay taxes later. And so what do you think taxes are going to be later? We're trying to get universal health care. We're paying for wars. Yeah. We got to fund Social Security. We have all these things that are happening that taxpayers pay for. So when you decide to defer that tax payment until the next 30 years or 40 years, you don't know what you're signing up for, what that tax bill is going to be 30, 40 years from now. Compared to an IUL or an Roth, any Roth account, you're going to pay those taxes now, but you're not going to pay any taxes on the growth of that money when you go to take it out. So those are just the key differences between having an employer retirement plan versus doing something on your own, like an IUL or a Roth IRA. But what I will say is, I'm not one of those people y'all going to hear that says you put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Absolutely not. Should all your money go into a life insurance policy? I don't believe that. Should all your money go into a deferred comp plan? Are those the worst things in the world? I don't believe that either. I think you need a comprehensive plan based on your goals, unique to you, that you understand how all these pieces work to get you to your ultimate dream lifestyle. And that's different for everybody,
Yes, it is. And so crazy. I actually had that switch of a mindset too, because I was thinking so much into my IUL. So I started to get into the Roth IRA through Fidelity. And I'm like, okay, this is something a little different. Instead of me having all my eggs in one basket, I wanted to like spread my wings and do something a lot different. So it's something new. I'm really not too educated in the Roth IRA just yet, because it's like literally 2 weeks fresh.
It's new. It's super fresh.
Yeah, so it's new. But I feel like a lot of people at this day and time on how the economy is changing, the shift in the currency and everything, I feel like a lot of people should just invest more and save more and move their money a lot different than what they used to, and be smarter about your money and not like be so into the materialistic things and think more of longevity, because who's to say something else will come up and you need an emergency and you probably had nothing.
Yeah. And the biggest crisis that we're facing in America right now is the retirement crisis. Like if you on any CNN, NBC, any news that's talking about the markets and the economy, you're going to hear people talk about the retirement crisis, where the millennial generation even I would say Generation X. Generation X is going to be that first generation where they really don't have those pensions backing them up as much. And so see how a 401k works. Did they save enough money? Generation X, that's my parents' generation, they went through 2007, they went through 2001, they went through a lot of things. So we're really getting ready to see what retirement looks like, because the day of getting a pension, having a deferred comp plan, having somebody else, Social Security, really be there for you, where maybe our grandparents or great grandparents, they were getting multiple checks. They happy retirement. They
Yep.
got money. She always got something rolling in. She worked for 2 years. She got a picture from 30 different jobs that she didn't have.
Yeah.
Those days are long gone. Those
Yeah.
days are long gone. So that's the crisis that we're really facing now. So whether you are an employee, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a business owner, really understanding how do I set myself up for the future? If you're not looking at that, you're making one of the biggest mistakes financially right now.
Yes, you really are, because and the fact of just saving your money and moving your money the correct way and
Mm-hmm.
is such a thing, because childcare even increased. I have a daycare center, and childcare for infants now is like 400 a week. And that's a lot of money for someone that has a regular 9 to 5. Even making 100K 200K a year is still expensive for
Mm-hmm.
you to pay that much in childcare. So that lets you know how much it changed, because the rates for childcare has changed 4 times in the year.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
it's just continuing to increase, and they're bringing up the household income rates and everything for them to actually be in the home, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still expensive.
It is, and I used to say this, being middle class is probably the worst class that you can be.
Yes, it
And
definitely is.
I I didn't want to believe that because I told y'all I was to go to school, get a good job, work really hard, house, picket fence, dog. That was the dream for me,
Hmm.
especially from where I came from. But when I got there, I was so sad because the only words I kept hearing, Yvette, was, "You don't qualify. You
Yeah.
don't qualify." As somebody growing up on government says, I qualify for everything, and I'm black. What you mean? Like, I don't.
Hmm.
You don't qualify. You don't qualify. And I think an eye opener for me was when, again, my first year working, I went to go claim my daughter on taxes. And I was so excited because I'm like, oh, if you have a child, you get all this money back. You tax it.
Yeah.
They said, absolutely not, Ms. Garrett. You make enough money. You don't qualify for any earned income credit, child tax credits. You actually have to pay the United States for populating a country.
Hmm.
I said, they not telling people in the hood this. They definitely not telling us this because hold on, what do you mean? I don't get no money. What, what I'm saying? Like,
Brought down all your expectations, huh?
oh my, not everybody, but where I come from,
Yeah.
you got too many kids, you only claim 3, who got a child trying to claim.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was my story because I was middle class. And so I remember being in a supermarket. I never forget it. I'm in there, and by the time I was probably my early 20s, I had already crossed over 6 figures, which was pretty well. And so I'm in there with my little high paying job, and I'm in the bread aisle counting which bread should I get by the pennies. Oh, this one is,
Oh.
$3.98 versus $2.97. I'm trying to do my little budget. And then, no lie, 2 ladies come by my aisle, cart full of food, shopping cart full, playing like kids on the back, just pushing the carts. You know how you go on the back and push the cart.
Yeah.
And something's not right with this picture. Something is not right with this picture because I did everything right. I went to
Right.
I got the good job. I'm working really hard, but yet I'm struggling. And that's when I realized middle class is the worst class you could be because it means you make too much money for any government support, but yet not enough money to live your goals and dreams, to truly do all the things that you desire. And so I'm like, I have to get out of here, but then I need to show other people how do we break free? How do we get out of here? Because nobody told us this. Nobody prepared us.
No.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah, it does. So tell me, you established, you got your job, you got your retirement together, you
Yep.
got your life insurance, you got all of this stuff. How should people, or I wouldn't even say how, when should people start planning for their will and like trust and things of that nature?
Yeah. So if you have income, if you have minor children, and if you own property, you need an estate plan. you need an estate plan, and your estate plan is going to be your financial power of attorney, your healthcare power of attorney. It's going to be your will. It's going to be your trust, at minimum, a revocable trust. About 95% of my clients need just a revocable trust. So once you have one of those three things, you need to start planning your estate, because what that means is I have something. So your estate, that is everything that you own, everything that you have interest in, and all the money that you have. That's your estate. And so what we have to do, and what I find sometimes is troubling, is that we don't value what we have.
That's true.
And so the question you just asked me, when should we start planning for what we have? If we have to ask that question, that means we don't value what we have.
That's true.
Because we don't value what we have things like gentrification running rampant in our neighborhoods.
Yes.
Because we said, don't nobody want to live there. Nobody wants their mom's house. Nobody wants to live in that part of the city. We didn't see the value in it. But along came Mr. Developer. He said, I can do something with this. They saw the value in it, cleaned it up, dusted it off, added a fresh coat of paint, and now you have $1 million homes in the hood.
Yeah.
Upset, but we can't be upset because we didn't value it. So we have to start valuing what we have, where we are with what we have, as soon as we get it. Income, minor children, property, you need to start planning for your estate. It's yours. It has value. Start preparing for it.
And developers are all around, especially now. They're collecting up land, abandoned houses. They are collecting everything, and it's so crazy because it makes you think like, okay, where are people going now? And then the increase of rent, and it pushes them over into a whole nother neighborhood. So then you have, and then at that, the investors and developers, they're in a whole nother state, and they're coming to your city, never even lived there before or nothing, and they're just building something because they see the vision and we don't.
That's it. And so we have to start looking for those opportunities. Like, we have to go from being participants, from being consumers, to actually being in the game. To owners, to having that mindset shift that says, you know what, if I see a empty lot in my community, how can I purchase that? If I see a business or a storefront in my community, how can I turn that into a business right where you are? Because truth of the matter is, the grass is greener where you water it at. I have traveled to different parts of different communities and suburbs and inner cities and so forth for what I wanted. That makes sense.
Yes.
And in addition to that, when there are things that come to our communities or come to your community where you don't want that to be there, we have to vocalize that. Where I grew up, there was a check cashing place, a Chinese store, and maybe a deli that sold alcohol and other things on almost every corner. When I bought my first property, there was a wealth management firm on every street. What's the difference, right? You got Edward Jones, the local guy. Like, what happens? So what that means is that one community is speaking up, saying we don't want this here. Another community is just letting people come in. So we have to be vocal and start saying what we want in our communities, what we don't want in our communities, and then us take ownership to actually be the person who establishes more of what we want to see. Don't get me preaching on here tonight.
It's the truth, though. A lot of people, a lot of us, we really need to realize that and how important it is. I see a lot more improvement, but then at the same time, it's just the new generation coming up. They missing it. The information is there, the opportunities are there, everything is there, but it's like they missing it, and it's like, man, we continue need to educate our people and everything so they exactly know what to do, because sometimes they are clueless on even the first step.
Yeah. And I would say our generation, we're the first generation where we have all the pieces to the puzzle. So our grandparents probably didn't know enough, right? And then our parents knew that they had enough insight to know that this route doesn't work, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what else to do. We have the information, we know that it doesn't work, and we know that we have the solution. We have alternatives to go get to it. So this is really where it's an important part in our histories and our legacies, that we have to grab hold of this, because if we don't, we're going to miss it. That makes sense. We are
Yep.
the largest wealth transfer that's happening right now that our country has ever seen. $84 trillion is transferring right now. I don't know about you, but I'm like, where mine at? What's mine? If it's
Man.
84 trillion, you can get a million. You can get a
Yep.
couple,
Yep. He's like, wait a minute, what I gotta do? What?
you know,
Read.
and
Yes.
some people aren't even aware.
No, they're not.
They're not even aware. So back to your question, you said, they're building all these homes and development and they're pushing people out. So some people are confused and they're just looking like, nobody's ever going to buy that. How you going to do
Yep.
that? But yet there's somebody coming in with cash. With cash. They said many students there was a article that came out that said Ivy League students are forgoing their education so that they can buy businesses from baby boomers. They understand that right now, baby boomers, those are people born between 1946 and 1964, they are still the largest shareholders of the economy. They hold
Yeah.
the largest amount of wealth. They hold the largest ownership in corporations and businesses and in small businesses. So as they are retiring now, so over the next 15 years, every 7 seconds, a baby boomer is going to retire. As they're retiring, there are people saying, why go start a business again when they already hold the lion's share? Let me just go buy it from them.
Yeah.
They have to get out. So this wealth transfer, this $84 trillion is transferring. You got to go find out how you get a piece of that, how you get yours. And then we have to have the conversation with our parents, because believe it or not, there is wealth in our families. There is wealth in our communities. Other individuals aren't coming in. African Americans, we have the seventh largest economy. If we were to take all the money we spend and put it together, we would have the seventh largest economy in the world, larger than Mexico. You hear me? Where everybody wants,
Mhm.
larger than Mexico. People
Yep.
come into our communities, but they know we're consumers. And so they take. So we have to understand and believe that we do have wealth. There is wealth in our communities, in our families. And so we need to have the conversation with grandmom and aunts and uncles and so forth and say, what's the plan for this house? What's the plan for this property? Is there a reverse mortgage? How do we keep that in the family? Because if we're being honest, we all have stories about people in our family that we heard of once owned a business, owned some land,
Yeah.
something down south. But what happens is they worked hard and built all that, but none of it transferred.
Yeah. It stayed the same.
We
It
need,
stayed the same. It went on to a whole nother family of people that just developing something else.
that's it. So we need to figure out, how do we transfer that wealth? How do we keep this house, right? Let's not sell it to, the little guy who got the sign that says, can I buy your house, right? Let's not jump at and get big eyed at the first opportunity of money that comes our way. Let's hold on to something. Let's pass something down. So for me, that's where my passion really comes from for legacy planning and estate planning, is because I've seen people work hard for 30, 40 years and then have nothing to show for it. I've had
Mm.
stories in my family, people around me, we lost this, we lost that. Well, how come it didn't come here? If my great grandfather spent his entire life building businesses and owning multiple properties, there's no way that I should be starting from scratch. There's no way we should be starting from scratch every single time. We know how to work hard. But what we've never been taught is how to build. And that's one of
Yeah.
my plates, is, how do I teach us how to build? How do we build so that therefore those coming behind us, they can struggle with the next level of struggles? They shouldn't have to be figuring out how they buy their first car, how they
Yeah.
buy their first property, how do they start a business. And we have to break that mindset that giving our children something is going to spoil them or is going to ruin them. Life is hard either way, but
Yeah,
it's
it is.
hard. We let our children start to struggle with the next level of hard. That makes sense. Like,
Yes.
figure out the daycare you got. Like, let's figure out how they take it national. How do you make it a chain? How you make it a franchise? Like struggle with that. That is
Yeah.
also a struggle. Getting it out the mud, we over
It's
there.
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And what's so crazy is we could sometimes find ourselves having friends that is still trying to get it out the mud, or friends that don't even have the mindset that we have, and we still be around them for so many years, but we are trying to move forward and we still stuck too. And we have to realize that we have to put ourselves in rooms where we need to be so we could get a lot more educated on exactly what we need to be doing to continue to grow in our lives. If your friend didn't want to come, okay, oh well, you got to respect it. I want to go somewhere else. I need to figure out other things. And me personally, myself, I've been in rooms with millionaires and it changed me. It changed my mindset. They were talking about things. I don't, you could think you doing something, but girl, when they start talking about some other stuff, I'm like, wait, how, huh?
Not
You gotta do what? And it's crazy because we have a lot of people. We in the generation now, everyone has their own business. But a lot of people will get a building and rent out the building and do all these things, but yet they're not thinking about buying the building. And then in the process of buying a building, they're not thinking about getting an architect and get approval of different blueprints. And they're not thinking about having that on the side. They're not thinking about having a business plan alone for their business to actually grow, and so the banks can see their vision so they can get approved for bigger loans, or find investors that's willing to spend their money on you to be able to take your business or yourself to a next level. And that's a lot of things that we don't even know about, because if you have that heart and that passion and you're a good person and somebody see you trying, so many people will invest in you and you will be amazed because they have money that they don't even know what they want to do with it.
They don't. And that's so good. And that's one of the things that with my entrepreneur and business owner clients I talk about is how do we go from having a business that sells to having a business that we can sell? Because when it comes to wealth creation and wealth building, there's 3 phases to it. And I talk about this in my wealth creation quiz. It's the first phase is building wealth. And so we've gotten that point, right? How to make money and preserve it, you have to build it. And the second phase is that you have to sustain the wealth. And so if you hit a million in your 30s and your 40s or whatever the case may be, you're not about to just roll over and die. You have to
Right.
sustain that for the next 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. How do you do that? That's where mergers and acquisitions come from. So when you look at people like Elon and Jeff Bezos and so forth, what they're focused on now is buying and selling. Like I was watching a news report today and it's like Jeff Bezos is still selling his shares in Amazon and so forth because they're
Right.
sustaining wealth. That's where mergers and acquisitions come into. So how do you now take this business that you've built? You have the systems, you have the processes for it. How do you get that value and how do you sell that? And sometimes we struggle a little bit because we're maybe the first business owner, the first entrepreneur that's really been successful. And so we say things like, I never want to sell this business and I want my children to hold on to it. When in reality, our counterparts are building, scaling, and selling.
Yes.
That's what they do. Build a business, scale the business, sell the business. That's where you really get into that deep generational wealth. So
You
I'm so
do.
proud of us. I am. I am proud of where we are and when we have come from and the efforts that we're making. But I want us to know that there's a next level. There
It
is,
is.
and we have to now be the ones responsible for doing the more.
Yes, we do. And so crazy of you saying how they sell their businesses and everything. They're buying land everywhere like crazy. They're building their own farms. They having land to place solar systems at. And they're thinking next generation. Even though we in here now, with everything changing, with us having AI and everything, we need to think electrical, we need to think solar, so much more futuristic for us to invest ourselves into that and educate ourselves to see which lane are we going to fit in at, so we know exactly what to do, because it's so much that's coming and we have to be there. We have to be caught up.
Yeah, and that's why you said earlier, you said getting in rooms, exposing yourself to more. If you are not growing, you're dying. So you have to figure out what's next. And I know you probably think like this already. I already know you think like this. Like this year is over for me already. That's
It's been done.
it's done. Like,
Done.
done. And some people like, oh, half of the year, like midway through
Mm-mm.
the stretch. I'm like, this year is done. What do we do for
Mm-mm.
next year? You constantly have to be thinking ahead. You have to be curious. Like you have to allow your curiosity to say, I wonder what they thinking about.
I
You know,
know.
if Jeff is selling all his shares on Amazon, we excited about buying our Amazon shares, going with the good. I want to know, he thinking about what's next. I
But
want to know.
what he doing next though? I want to, whatever he doing next, I want some of that too.
No, I will tell you. I will tell you what they have going on, because listen, I'm tuned in the mornings doing my workouts. I'm like, what's next, right? So the new race that they have right now was around AI,
Yeah,
right?
you're
And so
right.
Elon and Oracle just did a split. That was his AI partner, but he just split up. They just broke up, and so he needs a new AI. So what's next? And that's how we have to be thinking, what's next? And we're not going to get the what's next from maybe the people right next to us or a
No,
family member. And you have to be comfortable going into rooms and going into spaces and communities where maybe it makes you feel uncomfortable because people don't share the same viewpoint, or they don't look like you, but you're there for one purpose. I'm trying to figure out, we're all high level thinkers. What's next? How do we grow? And so I'm glad you said it, because that's so true. I'm like, what they working on? What's next?
seriously. I got a big fetish of Star Engine.
Okay.
I love going on there. I love seeing the futuristic things that they have coming out and everything. I ain't gonna lie, I invested in probably like 4 or 5 of them, but it's like it's so futuristic for you to figure out. Okay, this is what they're doing, and like slowly but surely, they're taking away storefronts and they have these like mini cars that will come and drop your groceries off in front of you. You could grab them out the truck. You could grab your drink. You could get food. You could get clothes. You could get your like everything is coming right at your front door.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, man, this is what we about to get ourselves into. And
Mhm.
then a lot of things is going to be monitoring off the sun, so they got so much solar things coming out. The homes are even changing. Some people don't even want those big old houses no more. They want solar homes, and homes that look like mobiles. They got a home that unfolds,
Yeah.
so
You see that one that you could buy it off of Amazon? It was like a whole house you could buy on Amazon.
yes. Yes. So
Changing.
I mean, it's a lot, and it's a lot for us to figure out of which way we want to go as far as investing. And my biggest thing is
Yeah.
energy, electric, and stuff like that, because that's where they going.
And so when you're looking at your financial portfolio, this is why it's important not to have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Not every tool can do everything. Right. And so if let's say you say, you know what, I want to go all in with my life insurance policy. Well, inside your life insurance policy, you can't go invest in a solar company specific, right?
Right.
You need a brokerage account to do that, but you can do that in a Roth IRA. And so there's two things when it comes to investing. Three things actually when it comes to investing that you want to understand. The first thing is you want to understand how your money grows. Is the money that you're investing, is it growing fixed? Is it growing variable, or is it growing index? Fixed meaning you're never going to lose money, but you're not going to make a lot of money. Those are going to be your safe investments. Variable, you can make 100%, but you can lose 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You can make some money, When the markets go down, you won't lose anything. When they go back up, you make some money. So you got to understand, how is my money growing? Ask yourself that question when you're investing. How is my money growing? Two, you want to ask yourself, what are the tax implications on where my money is growing? If
Yeah.
I'm growing that money in tax now accounts where every time I make money, I have to pay taxes. Am I growing that in tax deferred accounts where I don't pay taxes now, but later I'll pay those taxes, or the tax advantage accounts? I get, probably the biggest disappointment that I see right now in talking with clients around retirement planning is I have millions of dollars in my 401k and I don't need that money. But yet, if I take it out, they're going to tax me so hard. Can I do something? I want to leave it to my kids. I don't want to pay all these taxes. And I'm just like, no,
No, you can't take nothing.
you can't move it unless you pay the tax on it. And that's heartbreaking to them because it's like, I didn't know that, but that's where you built it at. So it's not just
Yeah.
good saying, where do I grow, how do I grow the money, but where I grow the money, where I invest the money is important, for when, how you go to take that money out later on in life. And then the second thing is the rate of return. The last thing is the rate of return that you're getting on your money. Really understanding that amateurs make money on the front end, experts make money on the back end.
Back
I
then.
need to know the interest. I need to know the rate of return. I want to understand how my money is making money, and does that align up? So when you're looking at where I'm investing, what I want to do, all of that goes into account. It's not just like open up account, put a little bit of money in here. No.
Mm-hmm.
Plan. You need somebody who understands where you're trying to go to help you understand the moving parts to it. And again, you may be a person that's really into solar, very futuristic. You may be another person who's not.
Right.
It's okay. I'm a firm believer in all work works.
Yeah, for real.
You work it. All work works. But don't get caught up trying to do what everybody else is doing, that you miss
No,
what's good for you or what's best for you.
that is true. And you can easily get caught up because a lot of people run based off trends. And a lot of times outside of those trends, it's a lot of opportunities.
So much opportunity. And even when it comes to like investing in stocks, people are always trying to pick the big name stocks that are.
Yes.
And here's the truth of the matter. All right, I'm gonna share with y'all. This is the real deal when it comes how you build wealth. Okay, this is how you build wealth in the stock market. The name of the game is shares. How many shares do you own? That is the secret. So let's say you have $5,000 that you want to invest. And you say, you know what, I really like what NVIDIA is doing, right? And NVIDIA is almost at $1,000. I like Amazon or whatever the case may be. And so you go take your $5,000 and you buy a stock that only gets you 2 shares or 3 shares or 5 shares. Even if those shares grew by 100%, 200%, 300%, it's not going to move that much because you only have
Because they got 2 or 3. Yep.
5. I always say 1,000% of zero is still zero. So you don't
That's
have
true.
that many to move. Versus if you took that same $5,000 and you bought a stock that's consistent, that's going to grow, but you can get 100 shares. Now, if those 100 shares only move by 30%, you'll get a lot more movement. And that's called dollar cost averaging. So don't always go for what's big, what's loud right now, if your money can't buy you a lot of shares. The name of the game in anything when it comes to stocks and investing is shares. Focus on the number of shares that you own compared to the name brand of the stock that you own. That's my little tip.
Mm, okay. That's a great tip.
Yeah, that's a good one because people don't do that, right? They
No,
do.
they don't because they just go off the name, like you said, like the amount of money you spending for shares. Like, why do that?
Yes, when you can get 100 shares, you can get 300 shares. And when you have a lot and they move a little, you're going to make way more than if you only have a few. They got to move a whole lot to really
Hmm.
get you to the goal of where you want to go. So y'all better pocket
Okay,
that.
yeah. So one of the things I noticed about you big on women
Yes.
and especially women in wealth. So we have a huge wave of women that's just getting it now. They they ain't not playing no games at all. What is your intake on just seeing how women is just growing so much, investing so much, and really we're changing the game.
We are, and we are projected. Women are projected by 2030 to be 51% owners of the wealth overall. And so, this wealth transfer I talked to y'all about, and I said $84 trillion of that is moving. That is where the shift is going to happen, where women will control 51% of the wealth in this country. That has never happened before. Okay.
Never.
So this is time for us as women to really step up, to really understand. And so even though we're making more money, even though we're entrepreneurs and we're doing all these things, when it comes to financial planning, when it comes to understanding how money works, we still shy back from that. We still
Yeah.
don't do as much. Men still outshine us. And not that it's a competition, just kind of the facts of what it says, right? But they still perform better in investing. They still perform better when it comes to retirement. And so we have to make sure that as the tables are turning in our favor, we have to step up and get in the game, not shy away from it. So what's a few things happening. One, you have this wealth transfer that's happening. You have this shift by 2030 that 51% of this country will be owned, the equity in this country will be owned by women. But you also have this factor where now when a woman's husband, those who are married, when their husband dies, they want to switch financial advisors.
Mhm.
I don't want to be with the financial advisor that my husband picked for us because you
Mhm.
never even talked to me anyway. You was always asking my
Yep.
what we should do. And so the studies also show that women, when they're either left an inheritance from their parents or if their spouse passed away, they switch financial advisors. They want somebody who looks like them, who understand what it feels like to be in their shoes. And so on the other side of this, I'm also an advocate for more women getting into the financial industry because they are
Yeah.
looking for you. They want
Yeah.
someone who understand what it feels like where they are. So yes, ladies, ladies, it is your time. And so again, we have to be prepared. It's no point of having money and we don't know what to do with it. We don't understand it at the next level. So we have to continue to educate ourselves, continue to empower ourselves, and continue to feel as though we belong and know that we belong in the seat.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Sometimes we get there and I have so many clients, women clients who are millionaires, and they are afraid to say it.
Yeah. They are.
They are afraid to say it. They don't add the accounts up. They don't want to look at it. They sit down. They say they're like this. They purposely move the money into a bunch of different accounts so that they never truly see all of what they have. In that moment when I can say your net worth is 2 million, 1.5 million, 3 million, 5 million, they're like, really? Like they just light up. And this goal that you've been working for and building for, like you hit that, like you did that, it's there, but you got to now own it. Now you don't got to go out flaunt it. That's not what I'm saying.
Nah.
You have to own it, that
Yeah.
we are hitting our goals, we are moving the mark, we are accomplishing what we set out to do. Our children, our families will be better because of what we're doing, and you deserve a round of applause for that because you did it.
Yes.
I'd be excited. Excited.
Yeah. Like seriously. So if anybody wants to utilize your services, what do you have to offer them? What do they have to do to contact you and start them off with generational wealth and just retirement, trust, just all the different things that you offer them?
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend that you go out and you take our wealth creation quiz. So you can go to wealthcreationquiz.com, take that quiz, and what it really is designed to do is going to help you understand where you are in your wealth journey, what areas you need to work on, and then what phases you should start with. And then after that, you'll be able to book a call with our team to see how we can assist you with that. So that's one thing I encourage everybody to do, because sometimes people are just, they're a little bit nervous, right? But see if you're on track, see if you're off track, or see if you have some work to do. I always say everybody's okay, but a 15-minute call can be the difference between an okay retirement and a great retirement.
That's
An
true.
okay life and a great life. So go out to wealthcreationquiz.com, take the quiz. You can also follow us on Instagram at _Siedah Garrett or at Transformation Wealth Group. And then also visit our website, www.transformationwealthgroup.com, to book a call.
So, what is your goal for yourself?
In which area? Which area? Because I got a few of them.
I want to start with Transformation Wealth Group.
Yeah. So for Transformation Wealth Group, our whole mission is to enhance people's lives and to empower their dreams. And so it's building a platform that will allow people to talk about money with excitement again. Like a lot of times when we talk about money right now, it's just very dreary. Everything's high, it's expensive. Like nobody's excited about money. Nobody's excited about their life. Nobody's excited about their future. Like we need to get back to dreaming again and making that possible. So growing that, continuing to expand that, continuing to grow our clientele nationwide. That's really the focus there. But having it in an environment that is transformative, that is not your dad's financial advisor, right? It's not your typical stuffy stuff. It feels luxury. It feels good. It feels like you. Okay, that's that. So that's the Wealth Group, what we're focusing on there. And then also continuing to expand out our advisors. So we're constantly adding new advisors that understand the mission of where we're going and how we're helping families across the country.
Oh, that is amazing. Just the fact of you wanting people to talk about it again. And that's true because people, now that you said that, it's like light bulb. Like people really don't be excited talking about it. And I think a lot that comes with that is a lot of people was like they struggled by coming up to get so much money. You dealing with family, you dealing with friends, you're dealing with staff, you're dealing with so many things, and it comes from people not having those mentors to actually guide them and still have the confidence and still keep them going energetically for them to know like these things happen. This is normal. This is normal for you to feel this way as you level up.
Yeah. And that's really where the empowering dreams comes back to, because we focus so much on the money because it comes out of this place of I got to get money, I have to get money, I have to get money, I have to get money, that we don't realize that money is just a tool.
Yeah.
Like money really means nothing. It doesn't. What your dreams are, and when you get excited about that, is I've always dreamed about traveling, being able to provide for my family, giving my kids a good education, being able to wake up and not have to worry about an alarm clock, being able to give back and make an impact in the communities that I serve, being able to be fully devoted to my faith. Like those are the dreams. And so we want you to focus on that part, because if you're just focusing on the money, guess what? Money is going to grow. Money is going to go down. It's going to dwindle and it's going to grow, but it's just a tool. And when we, at the end of the day, and I do this in my mentorship program, we talk about what your life plan is. At the end of the day, when the good book is closed, nobody is going to get up there and say, oh, Siedah made X amount of dollars. They're going to talk about how you made them feel. They're going to talk about were you a good person. They're going to talk about, you ever been to, in my early 20s, I was obsessed with going to funerals, right? Because I wanted to hear how they talked about people.
Yeah.
Well, everybody say the same thing. She was a person that if you went to her, she could count on you. And everybody get up there and say that. That is what's going to matter. Who are those 3 to 5 people that will stand up on that day for you. And what will they say? And I promise you, it's never going to be about money. It's never
No,
going to be about money.
it's
So
character.
you can't fall in love with the money. You have to understand that it's a tool. You have to understand how to use it, how to grow it, but it's to get you to your dreams. And so we got to fall back in love with our dreams. We got to get excited about dreaming again, because that's where the excitement is. Yes, inflation is high. Yes, all these things are happening, but you know what? I'm blessed that I actually get to spend time with my kids. I get to allow them to, like those are the things that
Yeah.
talking about that makes us light up, that gives us that excitement, so that's where we want people to be at.
So, what is one of your personal goals for yourself?
Yes, girl, I'm fighting for my life right now. Hey, y'all follow me on Instagram, y'all see me, I'm out here working out. I'm fighting for my life. I am focusing on health. That is my personal goal right now, is health, because
Me too.
I have never heard a person on their dying bed say, I wish I had more money. They want more time. They want more time. And health is wealth. It doesn't matter if you have all this money in the world if you can't spend it, if you can't enjoy it, if you don't really get to live longer. So I'm claiming 120 years. That's what God said I could have. That's what I'm claiming. And so I'm working on that. So that is my battle. That is my fight. That is my consistency right now, is all about health.
Yes. And it matters a lot, especially when you trying to get to where you gotta go.
Yeah.
It matters a whole lot, because if you think about it, a lot of wealthy people, they wake up about 5, some even 4:30, and they working out, they reading a book, they drinking coffee, they eating breakfast. You be like, dang.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that about like 7.
You know,
So it's like you gotta get yourself together.
we have to take care of ourselves. And even when it comes down to, your finances, healthcare
Yeah.
is going to be your most expensive cost. It's healthcare.
Yes.
It's long-term care. So you need to be healthy enough where you don't have to give your wealth away for people to take care of you, right? That's not what you're
That's
building
true.
for. So we really got to take care of our body. So that's my personal goal I'm working on.
That is so true. So in closing again, could you let everyone know your website, your social media handles and everything, on how to contact you?
Yep. So you can go out to the wealthcreationquiz.com, take the quiz. Okay. I want you to see where you are. I want you to know what areas you have to work on, and you can book a call with our team there. You can visit our website, www.transformationwealthgroup.com, or you can follow us on social media. On Instagram, you can connect with me at _Siedah Garrett, and you can connect with us there, or at Transformation Wealth Group on Instagram. But we're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well too. So that's how you can connect with us.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much, Saida. I enjoyed talking to you, and you taught me a lot, girl.
It was good. I'm glad that we got to have this conversation. Welcome back.
Yes. Yes.
Welcome back. So like we out here, welcome back.
Yes.
Excited. Your platform is certainly needed. Your work that you're doing is needed. And so I'm glad that you are back and that you are continuing the good fight.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Her Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And we have so many exciting interviews to come up. And Saeed is actually the first interview of season 4. So a pleasure to start off with wealth, and we got so much more to come. Thank you, and good night, y'all.
Good night.